Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to lend my voice to give tribute to a person that can only be termed as one of our modern-day heroes, and a person, Mr. Speaker, whose legacy will live on forever, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I join in concert with all the previous speakers with what they have said. And Mr. Speaker, I join with the member of the 3rd District, especially at this time, because both the member of the 3rd and myself will be the only two in this Honourable House at this time that actually serve a large portion of the latter part of Mr. O'Neill's political career with him, as we served together for about 16 years it was with him. So 16 years I've served with Mr. O'Neill and have a lot of stories. He was the one that was the head of the ship when we came into politics. And I saw a lot of days, Mr. O'Neill, in which taught me a lot of things that helped me now to be a better leader than I would have been had I not met Mr. O'Neill. And one of the things that I remember when I got into politics, the member of the 7th said that I came in with a lot of zest and a lot of zeal, and I thought that this thing was like abracadabra. You just say you want it done today, you go down by the office and you get it done today. And one of the most annoying things that I've learned in politics that up to this day I still have to learn how to deal with it, even as Premier, is that some of the bureaucracy gets in the way. And I don't blame anyone. I've come to learn, even as Premier, that we've been allowed to be set up in a system that's designed not to allow for progress, but to make us feel that we're progressing. The system, what we have, has been given to us, and it's time to challenge that system to get something that works. And you can, and when I sat and I learned this after a few years, I realized that Mr. O'Neill learned to pace himself. And I liken it on to a relay race in life. But the only thing is, when you're leading a territory, the relay race never comes to an end until the world ends. But when you get the baton, your duty is to run as fast as you can. Stay in your lane, and then get to pass the baton off to the next person that's running. No. And the next person that runs the race now has to run according to their perspective of life. Keep running hard and make sure that they continue that journey in that relay and pass the baton on. While a relay race will always have a finish, and in real life, in terms of real relay actually happening in life, most persons would put the fastest runner to the end to make sure that they have the best advantage to come in first after the relay race is finished. And Ms. Idris O'Neill would understand, because she was an athlete running a lot of these races. It was before my time, but I understand that she was one of the best athletes that this territory had ever seen. But in politics and leadership, there's no end to the relay race, because it's ongoing. But each one of us in the leg that we run have to run understanding that the true victory is once the territory does well, then all who ran the race are victorious. And that is key. Because one thing I've learned, and sometimes some of the public officers and even those in charge of the public officers don't understand me sometimes, is that I've learned that you have a set time to get things done before your time comes to get off the stage. And if you don't believe me, just look at this chair that I'm here sitting down in. I was a young fellow when I remember looking in these hollow walls, and I saw Honourable H.L. Stowe sitting, then I saw Honourable C.B. Romney sitting, Honourable H.L. Stowe sitting, then you saw Honourable R.T. O'Neill sitting, then you saw Dr. D. Orlando Smith sitting, then you saw R.T. O'Neill sitting, then I saw Dr. D. Orlando Smith sitting, and now I'm sitting. But I recognized something with all of them, that there's a time span. And you have to do, as Precious said in this song, do what you have to do and done before you get done, before you're done. And Mr. O'Neill did what he had to do, and his time in life has passed, and his memory forever now will have to last. And we remember him tremendously. We've heard members say a lot of things. One of the things that Mr. O'Neill and me used to clash for is that he didn't like fanfare. Not that I was an avid fan of fanfare, but one of the things that politics had evolved over the time is that the BVI was so small in population that everyone, knew what you were doing. Just pass a little word of mouth here and it passed through. But I recognized that while we were solving together, that the time had come when the BVI had expanded in population, and the way you were doing public relations for people to understand what your government was doing had changed. But he used to say, man, I ain't taking no picture, I am not sending out anything, and he was humble about it, and he meant it in a good way. And I used to say, Mr. O'Neill, the problem with that is that whether or not the marketing on the other side is true or not, it's getting out there. And you're doing more than what you've been given credit for, but it's not getting out there. And one thing about politics anywhere is that anything that is said over and over, whether it's true or not, it becomes truth. And if there's nothing there to say otherwise, then that becomes a fact. So because of his humbleness, he did not believe in ever promoting himself. As a matter of fact, he would resent it profusely because of his humbleness. And we heard things already. The North Song Road that he did, I could only imagine. I saw pictures of how North Song was before he did the road. Now people drive that North Song Road every day, and I'm not even sure that some of them, when they drive it, even say, God bless R.T. O'Neill. Because sometimes, as the Minister of Health says, Shakespeare said, the good that you do, it's often interred. Yes, often interred in your bones. So we have the Anegada Roads. Mr. O'Neill started that project, one which has to be continued. In the Brigada Flax Center, both the secondary and the primary. And it's the story how he got that building there, because he did not get it through being a school. There were those who were trying to get in on him like they tried to get in on us even now. And when they were finished building it, he told them, I think that we could change the purpose of this and make it to be a school. And that's how Brigada Flax School came into being. I remember that was 1982 when it opened, because there were some students from Virgin Gorda going to high school with us at the time. I had just gone into high school, and we just know that they disappeared. And we asked, well, what happened? They told me a new high school in Virgin Gorda had opened. And to me, that is one of his greatest accomplishments. And I'm going to explain to you why. When you calculate how much money Virgin Guardians had to pay to come down here to go to school, just to go to high school, that was a lot of money. And when you had to look and see how many Virgin Guardians who could not afford it that didn't get to come down to go to school and missed out on high school, that too was a travesty. And when you look and see those Virgin Guardians who couldn't afford to pay to come down all the time, but took a chance and allowed their children to be able to be housed by others, and some of them treated them well and some of them did not. And that was a travesty with those who were not treated well. So the Virgin Guardians got a lot of what we call knockabout, only from some of the people in Tortola in those days. And it sounds hard, but that is the truth. That was a fact. And Mr. O'Neill went and he got that school open. One day I sat down and I calculate on an average the fees to get the ferry. And when I was finished calculating from then to now, you're looking at close to about $15 million that he would have saved the Virgin Guardians. But what they have now is greater than that. Virgin Guardians are known now to be some of the brightest persons now since that school came about, and even before. The Chief Justice is a Virgin Guardian, taught and dealt with by Mr. O'Neill, even in his teaching days. So every student that goes to the Brigada Flax School, whether secondary or primary, every person that drives the North Song Road, every person that goes by the cruise ship dock, even though it's extended even more now, every person that drives on the 4-lane highway, every person now that can purchase or belong, that can purchase lands that go up for auction, because Mr. O'Neill was the one who closed the loophole when there was a time when the banks would auction your property and you did not need a non-belonging alien land holdings license at the time once it was done through an auction. And that was a loophole where non-belongers were getting lands without a license. Mr. O'Neill closed that loophole, recognized it, and passed legislation to close that loophole. So anyone who gets land through the actions of the bank has to be thankful to Mr. O'Neill. And when you look and see that Mr. Hunt, one of our former attorney generals, were in here, in his book, he clearly articulated it in his book, where he said that Mr. O'Neill was the one who, in the opposition, seconded the motion for the BVI International Business Companies Act 1984, and he was in the opposition, he seconded to bring that act into being and pass in this house, one that we enjoy up to this day. When we look and see that you have Mr. O'Neill that sat in the opposition, and when the government side was in disarray only over the topic of Social Security, and they couldn't get the full numbers, and they needed one more to pass, Mr. O'Neill, even in the opposition, the leader of opposition, get up and said, I will second this and pass it, to give us a Social Security program that we have today. And when you look and see that we celebrate, and there were those who were pushing, like Ms. Stout and others, for the H.L. Stout holiday, and Mr. O'Neill, in his wisdom as a leader, said, it is time for us to recognize H.L. Stout's accomplishments and have a holiday in his honor. So when we have persons who benefit from all of these, and even for taking HLSCC over, in addition to the campus, over to Virgin Gorda. When you see all of these and more, we can say what I always say, that the late but great Robert Lester Marley said in his song, that you're going to feel tired to see Ralph T. O'Neill's face, but you can't get him out of the race. Because every child that goes to Brigada Flex is a face of R.T. O'Neill. Everyone that drives on the road in North Song, where they could drive now in that road, paved, are driving and seeing the face of R.T. O'Neill. Everyone that drives on a 4-lane highway, whenever you drive, whether you believe it or not, you're driving and seeing the face of the late but great R.T. O'Neill. And there was someone that said, and I don't remember who it was, so I don't take credit for these words, but they said that when we walk every day on the grounds, we're walking on the ashes of our forefathers. And now this is one of those times, now that he has gone, that whenever we drive on the highway, wherever we go to school, Brigada Flex, whenever we do many things here that we do not equate his name to, because he did not have the fanfare of putting his name to them, but they were him. They were because of him. And they were him because he cared about the territory. So whenever we walk on these grounds, on these roads, we're walking on the ashes now of the great late R.T. O'Neill. So I would not rehash a lot of what was said before, other than to put it in perspective of the kind of leadership that we had with R.T. O'Neill. And I remember that the Attorney General rightfully said that, he used to say all the time, I'm not perfect, but I try. And I've learned to add and adjust that philosophy to tell people now as Premier that I'm not perfect, but I'm continuing to walk towards perfection with the help of a perfect God. And that's the attitude you have to take as leadership. And I've learned also a lot from Mr. O'Neill that I have to put in practice now, because being a Premier and being a district representative is not a simple feat. Because both require full-time. And none can get full-time. But you still have to find full-time and find time with family and everyone else. And none understands that you can't do full time. As a matter of fact, the only one that sympathizes the most, given the schedule, is the family. Which Mr. O'Neill, you, your daughter, and Mr. O'Neill's other 3 children, they have paid a price. You paid a price. It is a price that nobody on this earth other than whoever has been in leadership in politics could understand. You paid a price with finances. You paid a price with your health. You paid a price with those who you have done good for, but they never could see it because they only see the bad. And it's very easy to look at some of those experiences and become bitter. But know that the God who put you on the earth never put you through anything to become bitter, but instead He put you through it to become better. And know something, that every one of us on this earth has been born for purpose, in purpose, God's purpose. And do not regret a moment of it, because it's easy to regret certain things that have happened or continue to happen and say, look how many years I've put in, but look what has happened. But remember, at the end of the day, the goal is not only here on the land as what we see, but it's over there when God says, well done, my good and faithful servant. And I told a lot of persons here someday that in the Bible says that the Lord said, praise me now, so that when the time of judgment comes, I will not say, depart from me then, because I know you not. And Ms. O'Neill, can I tell you that a lot of people have that judgment to be when you die. But can I tell you it's not then? You keep praising God no matter what happened. Because when you praise God, your then could be that you're in financial need. But because you praise Him then, He will remember you then. Your praise could be that you don't have all that you need, and you look and you see that your husband has served for so many years and look where you are now. But remember, once you keep praising God all the time, when your then moment comes, He will be there for you. When any one of us in here who will tell you that we'll be there for you forever, but when the funeral is finished, you'll never see some of them again, remember that although you're not seeing them, God is there with you. So if you keep praising Him now, He will be there for you in your then moments. So the then moment is not when the judgment day comes and He's deciphering who will go to heaven and who will go to hell. A lot of people have given this philosophy over the years and they've fooled a lot of people. That will come. But your then moment He's talking about is what is happening now. Are you praising Him now? So that when your then moment comes, He will be there for you then, because you're there for Him now. And I implore you as much as I implore myself, because whenever you encourage anyone, you're also encouraging yourself to keep praising God now. So when that then moment comes, you, your daughter, His entire family, the Lord will respond to your requests in many ways. I thank you for sharing Mr. O'Neill with us. I thank you, Abby, and all the family for sharing him with us. I thank God for allowing him to be here and for him to allow God to use him so that he can fulfill purpose, so that most of us now can come through and fulfill purpose. So I agree with those when they say we need a holiday. I call it the Ancestors/Leaders Day. Because we need a day when we can remember our ancestors and our leaders. And we'll discuss that more. So, Ms. O'Neill, all I can say to you is that I believe in studying the mathematics and the science and engineers. I love that. I was never good in the English, but I got there after a while. So I'm not a lawyer like the Attorney General and others. So I always put things to a parable because of the village I grew up in. And I always put things mathematically because that's what I love. So I end by telling you that may God multiply His favor for you and your family. May God always subtract you and your family's worries. May God add His wisdom to you and your family. May God divide your enemies for you and your family. May your prosperity be exponentially increased. May His grace equal His mercy for you and your family. And may the peace of the Lord forever be upon you. Because I want you to know, Ms. O'Neill, that despite your husband has gone, may the love of God always be with you and your family, and may it be infinite, so that all the way to infinity and back, you will know that your husband served. God is pleased, and you now have to run the relay race with the baton to make sure that his work wasn't in vain, your life isn't in vain. And I guarantee you with all my heart that as the premier taking over the reign, that I will make sure with my members that the BVIs will never become in vain for the work that he and other leaders have done. So God bless him, and may his soul forever rest in peace.